hi there. Welcome.
Hey.
It's Sunday, April 5th, 2020, and this is 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir.
And it's my birthday.
My co-host Amy Nasir is celebrating her birthday today. Thank you for coming to her birthday party.
Thanks for coming to my birthday party. You can all have cake, maybe in a few months.
Yes, let them eat cake. We can all have cake separately in our own homes.
Yes, please do.
So today is the 96th day of the year. We've almost made it 100 days into 2020. It's 264 days until Christmas, 209 days until...
Halloween, yay!
Halloween. We're going to talk about Halloween today.
Are we? That's great.
We are. How awesome will that be?
way too awesome.
We had a little bit of technical difficulty here, so I'm just making sure y'all can hear us. It's looking good.
Looking good.
If you only knew behind the scenes what it took to make these pipes flow into one another.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears. On this date, well, today, 4/5, is National Deep Dish Pizza Day.
It's a good thing. It's a
That's
good
right.
start.
So support your local businesses under this lockdown.
Yes.
For better or for worse.
Imprisonment.
That's right. Order pizza. Have them bring a deep dish pizza to your place. Because don't you deserve that? Yes, you do.
You do.
Also on this day, April 5th in 1792, President George Washington vetoed for the first time a bill put before him that would change the representation of the South compared to the North. And it was only the first of 2 vetoes passed in his entire 2-term presidency. Now compare that to the executive orders that are passed not just under the present administration, but under the previous one as well.
I would like Mr. Washington back, please.
Please give us a president who wants to do less. Also on April 5th, a star is born. Oh, that was you.
Oh. I'm not famous.
We will be talking about Amy Nasir's birthday throughout the podcast.
Oh, goody.
By far the most important thing that happened on April 5th.
Yes, it is my Celebrate Existence Day.
That's right. It's You Day.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay.
But first, the podcast of the week. Because we always recommend a podcast to our listeners.
Yes.
Because you should be listening to the same thing we are. Because we have great taste in these things. And this week's selection comes from
me,
the birthday girl.
Yes. I have decided to pick a podcast for this week.
And what podcast have you picked for the podcast of the week?
It is called Mobituaries.
Obituaries?
Mobituaries. As in M as in Mary. Mobituaries. It is hosted by a really great guy who I've met actually a couple times very briefly, and he's really, really lovely, and I love him very much. His name is Mo Rocca. He is the host of CBS Saturdays, the Henry Ford's Innovation Nation, which y'all should be watching too.
Don't you work at the Henry Ford?
As a matter of fact, do.
So you and Mo Rocca work together?
In a way.
I mean,
in a way.
He films where you work, so...
Yes, we practice extreme social distancing with each other.
Right.
So...
well, how excellent is that?
Yeah, Mobituary is basically... he wrote a book called... Let me see these notes that you got that I sent you. It's a book called Mobituaries, Great Lives Worth Reliving. It's a great book. You can get it on, I believe, on Audible and everything. And his podcast you can get called Mobituaries. It's basically he goes over the lives of lesser-known people, like Anna May Wong, the first major actress who was of Chinese descent, and such a fascinating story there. He talks about Thomas Paine, in his opinion, one of the most underrated founding fathers, which is a great story. And he's just a very benevolent, very fun and lighthearted person to listen to about people who have died and their lives. It's fantastic, so check it out. Mobituaries.com.
Outstanding. And the theme for today's podcast, if you haven't guessed it already, or read it on Facebook, or seen the spoiler alerts, is weekends and holidays.
Yes. That's a great song by a band named Trubber.
It is a great song by my old band.
Yes.
If I do say so myself. I do.
And you can look it up.
You can look it up. God help me. You can look it up.
It's from the early 80s, and they were kind of an avant-garage punk garage band sort of thing.
We could tell you stories.
Good stuff.
But we won't. Instead, we're going to talk about weekends and holidays, the lecture. Because much later, probably months later after being in a rock band, or maybe a couple decades, I did give a talk called Weekends and Holidays, appreciating and celebrating red letter days by using a rational, contextual approach. And the purpose of the discussion was to give people tips and tricks and principles and guidelines for getting the most out of weekends and holidays and anniversaries and vacations. And the point of the talk is that these things are not arbitrary. They are contextual, and they are man-made, but they're based on facts of reality. And the fact that they're man-made makes them not less objective, but more objective.
Yes.
When it comes to the calendar, during these challenging times, we're seeing days go by
after day
without identity. It's become a meme, or a series of them online.
Yeah.
That today is Frugenstorfen Day, and it's been Exington weeks until the last month of fraught.
Yes.
Because many people aren't working, many people aren't doing the 9 to 5, many people aren't doing the Monday through Friday.
Or you are working and you're working from home, and it's a really difficult line to delineate between work and home life.
Especially you who are working in your PJs. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I was going to start the show by saying, hey, everybody, we're not wearing pants. But, well, we are. So that would be dishonest.
But now they're wondering.
I guess they'll just have to wonder.
Well, they know you're honest. So you shouldn't have given away the spoiler there. You can leave them wondering. Maybe Amy's not... Well, you're wearing a dress, though. Even if you weren't wearing leggings, it wouldn't be all... And nobody cares if I'm wearing pants. So in these days in which we need to keep one eye on the calendar, because there aren't as many events causing us to do that, we don't want to let our days slip by, it's worth revisiting the topic. I discussed the calendar during this talk. I gave this a couple times at GlowCon, at AtlosCon, in which I reviewed the calendar, because the man-made does not mean arbitrary. There's a reason why we have the days of the month and the months of the year. The days go with the rotation of the earth and the rising and the setting of the sun. The months relate to the orbit of the moon. And if you don't think the orbit of the moon matters, you've never lived it near the water where the tides can make a life or death difference.
There are reality basis for these things.
That's right. And the years themselves, the orbiting of the earth around the sun, and the fact that our orbit is not quite perfectly spherical, and the precession of the axis is responsible for the seasons. Now, some of my Oist friends...
you mean objectivist friends?
Yes, had a bit of a chip on their shoulder because it seemed like so much of the Julian calendar, the Julius Caesarian calendar, was Christian. But it turns out that many of the names and the gods that we based our calendar on were not Christian. For example, January, named after Janus, the god of the doorway.
Yes.
And the portal and the entryway and travel. March, named for Martius, the first month of the earliest Roman calendar. Mars, the Roman god of war.
Yeah.
But also the guardian of agriculture, which is why Mars is the month that brings in the spring.
Yes.
May for the Greek goddess Maya, identified with the Roman goddess of fertility. And again, fertility, that would go with the late springtime right as well.
Yes.
And of course, the days of the week, we have
Thursday.
Our favorite day.
Love Thursday.
Thursday is the best.
Yeah, my friend Sarah and I, we celebrate Thursday by getting a hammer out.
That's right.
Throwing it and then going to retrieve it because it won't come back to us.
Yes. If I don't forget, your homework is celebrate Thursday by getting hammered. But even the holy days, the days of reverence, have human, earthly
Yes.
purposes.
Yes.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have lasted. They wouldn't have sustained all these years.
That's right.
So, a quick list of days and why we celebrate them. New Year's Day, for example, is the day of rebirth and renewal.
Yep.
We start a new year, we look back on what we achieved, and we make our plans for the future. Independence Day. Some people call it July the 4th if you're in the Americas. Or the America. One of the
States.
Americas.
We're in the States.
Yeah. The States. Oh, that's going to require a link in the show notes, isn't
The
it?
States.
Yes, celebration of the national and the personal meaning of the United States of America. Memorial Day, a day to engage values enduring of the past. Labor Day. I know people who think Labor Day, unions, they're in bed with the government. But Labor Day is a celebration of our effort,
Yes.
our purpose, our organization,
Our productiveness.
and of teamwork. And teamwork can be a beautiful thing. We do live in a division of labor
I was
society.
just going to say, division of labor.
That's right.
It's a great idea.
I've got Halloween on the list.
Do you know?
I don't, what is Halloween
Why
all
do
about?
we celebrate this is
Why
Halloween?
do we That's a song?
Yeah.
Or did you just make that song?
By the way, just so you know, on my birthday, I can sing whatever I want. I know you're going to say, Amy and Robert don't like musicals. Why do they not like, movies where people just burst out singing? Because just not as good as I am. So,
Yeah, I'm good with that, yeah.
No, but it's my birthday. I can burst out singing anytime. And
As opposed to every other day when she can burst out singing anytime.
that's correct. Yes. And so Halloween.
Halloween. What is Halloween all about? Why is that on our list of valid holidays?
Well, let's start with what we know. What we know is that we dress up. We use our imaginations to role play, to dress up as characters and people or things or strange, funny concepts that might, that amuse ourselves and amuse other people. And we have parties, and it's a very strange time to have a party, because you would think that this is Halloween is short for All Hallow Mass. Oh, well, that's the Catholic version of it. Sounds so sad, because it's actually All Hallow Mass Eve. So Halloween is the shortened version of it.
Is that the coming of the Christmas season, or why do they do that?
Because the next day on November 1st, the Catholic Church designated, way back when actually, they moved it from the springtime to November 1st as All Saints' Day.
Ah.
And then because the people who had basically in Ireland, the Celts, and other places in Europe who had celebrated this time that basically it was their New Year's Eve is what it was. And it was a time when the sun is now dead or is dying. And basically the line between the spirit world and the earthly realm was at the thinnest. And, spirits and all of that and such, and supernaturalism. But it basically was a harvest festival. It was celebrating their harvest time. They would have big bonfires. They called it Samhain, which some people call Samhain, but I think that's a band with, I'm forgetting the guy's first name. But, and basically they'd have big bonfires, and they would dress up, they would guise, they would try to scare away all the spirits. And so all of these sort of pagan traditions kind of kept happening, regardless of the Catholic Church trying to squash them. And so the Catholic Church finally said, okay, let's give you, instead of Halloween, or this Samhain, I should say, let's give you November 2nd, which is All Souls Day. So it's the idea of, not just scaring away the spirits, but also welcoming your dead loved ones into your home, keeping an empty chair out for them and some food and drink so that they might stop by. Of course, I don't believe in ghosts or spirits or anything like that. But it's very romantic, and it's also kind of like a Memorial Day of remembering your dead loved ones.
And yet you've got a skeleton in your closet. No, literally, she's got a skeleton in her closet.
I love my skeletons.
Amy loves Halloween.
I love them. And it's also very, very fun to kind of, in a way, make light, kind of have a lighthearted celebration of death, basically. And also just in a very, very fun way, celebrate the lives of those whom you admire. Superheroes, fictitious heroes, things like that as well. And it's just a wonderful time to basically put yourself in a role where you just don't get to do this every day in the year. Not unless you really want to. And you can if you do. So, yeah, so that is Halloween, my brief version of it. I can probably do a whole glow talk on this for an hour or 2 hours.
We could do a whole show on Halloween, but I'm going to keep going. Thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
So the regular holidays, the holy days that we celebrate, days of reverence.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, Thanksgiving, which of course is a celebration of productivity.
Yes.
And Easter and Christmas, which, if you are religious, you're celebrating some of that. But even the religious folks I know, those are celebrations of modern goodwill. Mm-hmm. These are celebrations of common values.
Yes.
Is what we're celebrating when we celebrate. When you think of Christmas and the joyousness of the season, and when you meet people, perfect strangers, and you assume that everybody is at their best.
And historically, it does go back to the agrarian societies of celebrating the harvest.
That's right. It's 2 days, 3 days after when the days finally start getting longer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a time of hope.
Yes.
But what about
what?
Hallmark holidays?
I love Hallmark holidays.
Surely those can't be valid.
You know, Robert and I, we sometimes when we've gone to the mall, I'd be like, I gotta stop at Hallmark, and Robert's like, I'll catch you later. So
I go with you.
No, you don't, and that's okay.
You
I love just hanging out there because it's a great little place.
See, I'm going to argue for Hallmark holidays. Mm-hmm. There are older ones like Valentine's Day, a day to say I love you. Why would you need a day to say I love you? Shouldn't you just say I love you every day?
Mm-hmm.
But do you want I love you to be an everyday thing? Go to your loved one, go to your family, go to your spouse, go to somebody you care about and say, I love you. 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 And say it over and over again until it doesn't mean anything. No, there's a reason to have a day to say, hey, let's focus on this a little more than usual.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's why in Michigan and some other northern states we have something called Sweetest Day.
Sweetest Day. Which
is almost half of a year away from Valentine's Day in October.
Yeah.
Another day to say, oh, by the way, I still love you. Yeah.
It's a lovely time to just stop what you're doing and focus on the people that you love, other than during Valentine's.
And that's why we need these holidays. Think of Mother's Day. Now, when I was a child, hi, Mom, hope you're listening. When I was a child, what I loved about Mother's Day is that my mother had realistic expectations of her young child, who was hard-pressed to get any money together, but I could go out and buy chrysanthemums. And back then, chrysanthemums were just about the least expensive flowers you could buy. But they were colorful and they were bold, and if you were a little kid, they were among the best flowers in the shop. Because, I wasn't looking for anything delicate or fancy, just colorful and smelled like flowers. And I could give, a $2 bunch of flowers to my mother, and it made her day. And isn't that what you want?
Yes.
Because one of my lessons to come out of this is holidays not only should be capitalized for their great value, they should be easy and they should be fun.
Yes.
And they should be guiltless. So we have Father's Day, because even men need a hug, right?
Well, of course. Fathers are really important.
And if some is good, more is better. And so we also have Grandparents' Day. And we do have Bosses' Day.
Yep.
And we used to have Secretary's Day.
Or Administrative Assistants Day.
Administrative Assistants Day we now have.
Yeah.
That's right.
Although there aren't that many admins out there left, but yep.
Yeah. But all of these are opportunities to do something that you don't have to do every day, but you should do now and then.
Yep.
The anniversary dates. Think of the anniversary holidays. First and foremost, the most important anniversary is the anniversary of your birth. Your birthday.
Yes.
You came into existence. This is
amazing.
This is Amy Day. It's you day. For any of you who have a birthday in the recent past or have one coming up or maybe even have one today, this is you day.
Yes.
This is the day about you. And every day you take care of yourself, you're self-sufficient, you're independent, you're self-assertive, but every now and then the spotlight needs to be on you.
Yes, and it's a day of contemplation about your life, in a very different flavor or different frame, different filter kind of thing. You've got New Year's Day and you think about, oh, what's coming up? How'd my year go? How is my next year going to be? But birthdays are just a great day to just think about yourself and think about what you love and to remind yourself that you need to keep pursuing those values. It's a real wonderful time, especially to get, quite a lot of birthday wishes on Facebook like I did today. And I thank all of you. It's so wonderful. And just to say, hey, I am in the spotlight.
That's right. What more important holiday could there be than a day in which you celebrate you came along?
Yeah.
You exist.
Right.
You are here.
Now there are folks who say, well, I don't like celebrating my birthday because I don't want to be reminded about, regrets in the past and glory days, how they passed you by, da-da-da-da.
You sound just like Bruce Springsteen. You're right. There
I just made that up.
There is the possibility of guilt and sadness and regret. And we'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
But let's finish the anniversary holidays real quick. Wedding anniversaries. Well, first you were born, now you're joined with someone. What better reason to celebrate there? Workplace anniversaries. Well, those are celebrations of your achievement. When you have been at your workplace for a year, for 5 years, for 20 years, it's not just, time passed. You think about what you accomplished, what you achieved, and the income you brought home, the values that you exchanged, what was made possible by your industriousness. And then historical events. Other people lived. Yes. Great lives were lived out there, and people have achieved things that can provide inspiration to you and have also won you your freedoms and your technologies and your lifestyle. And all of those things are worth celebrating, these people who've made our lives better.
Well, we have a question from Jim. Thank you, Jim. And he asks, what do you both think is the main reason many people get stressed out in the days before and during Christmas? Good question.
This is one of those cases where there's not a single answer or it wouldn't be happening. But there are multiple reasons. Part of it grows out of when you're young and you feel an expectation on you to provide for another person, and people carry that forward until they get older and they wonder, well, can I afford it? Do I really have the money? Do I want to spend the money? It's an obligation, and it feels like an unchosen obligation. That is probably the biggest stressor that I see. Yes. People feel they need to do more, they need to give more, they need to provide more, they need to plan more. And they don't have the time, they don't have the money.
They lose sight of the meaning of what they're doing.
Yes.
They lose sight of the richness that they themselves can get out of it. So
I have a remedy for that.
What is it?
Well, I'm just getting to that. So I have a few pro tips for the holidays. Once you realize that all of these are opportunities and not obligations. Incidentally, if they are obligations and not opportunities, that's what we need to turn around.
Yes.
So the first tip I say is, remember, people who care about you do not want you to sacrifice. People who actually care about you don't want you to feel pain.
Right.
When it should be a cause for celebration.
I most certainly do not want you to be unhappy.
That's right. So once you open your birthday present over there, if it's not exactly what you wanted, I can count on you to say, well, thank you, I like it. I'm still going to go out tomorrow and buy the thing I wanted.
Yes.
But not hold it against me.
I will get delight just from the wrapping paper. because honestly, the anticipation is a great value, and the wrapping paper is even better. So whatever it is, it's going to be great.
One of my tricks is reset. They were joking about this a few years back when, who was it, Hillary Clinton said she'd have a reset button. And then that went around the political sphere. But that's what you need. If your holidays are becoming a matter of obligation and not opportunity, it may be time to reset. And there's a couple ways you can do that, but one that I like is scale down. We had gotten to the point, Amy and I had, where it seemed like every birthday needed to be a little better than the previous one. Every wedding anniversary needed to be a little better than the previous one. Every glow meeting that we had and every dinner that we threw, like, well, we've done that before, we need to do something. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun to make things better and better. It's great.
We reached the height of heights for glow.
But at some point, I recommend, here's my prescription, Dr. Roberts says, reset. Mm-hmm. Go back to zero or to, a modest level. Whether it's a birthday celebration or an anniversary, whatever it is, Christmas, that's giving you stresses. Mm-hmm. The way to do that is talk ahead of time to the significant people in your life who you have these celebrations with, your children, your spouse, your parents, whoever it is, and let them know ahead of time, hey, we're going to have a very, and you don't have to say no presents or $5 limit. Just say, we're going to have a very modest Christmas. If a limit works for you, that's great. But don't make a big deal out of it. Just say, we've made this a little better every year. We're going to take it easy this year. Mm-hmm. Reset. Reset your expectations.
Yeah.
You can make it as big as you want, but you can also make it as modest as you want. And take time to enjoy the 25 other things that are great about Christmas or a birthday or an anniversary.
Yes. And sometimes if you just communicate that to your loved ones, what you find to be significant or beautiful or wonderful or enchanting or delightful, that in itself, those sorts of experiences and communicating those experiences is a gift, because it helps other people celebrate their own values and in whatever context you're in.
Yep. Guys, I'm telling you, women out there want expensive jewelry. And they want you to rub their feet.
That's true.
And sometimes you can afford both of those. But every now and then you've got to say, it's gonna do the personal attention this time around. Celebrations by their nature are optional. Mm-hmm. So if you're overwhelmed, sitting one out is always an option.
That's true.
So my personal guideline is be rational. Don't let anyone's unrealistic expectations compel you to be irrational or unhappy.
Yes.
And if you're feeling irrational or unhappy, if you're feeling stressed or unhappy about celebrations, it's time to say, this isn't what people who care about me want.
Right. And if somebody's trying to guilt you into something, just say, hey, stop for a second, chillax, and let me give you the opportunity of thinking about this differently. Instead of putting all this obligation on me, perhaps you should, count your own values and be satisfied with that instead of expecting all of this from me.
She may already have an extraordinary hat. She might not need another one yet. Well, no, that's not true, but still, you can stretch that out a little bit.
Yep.
Well, we're almost 5 minutes in here, so let me give just a few other tips real quick. Mm-hmm. Pro tips. People actually do appreciate personal gifts more than stuff, especially as they get older.
Yeah.
At this point in my life, I don't need people to buy me things I need. I am an accomplished professional. If I need something, I already bought it.
We are accomplished in collecting so much stuff that it's cluttering our basement.
I just want trivial things, silly things, or even outrageously expensive things, but things I wouldn't buy for myself, and that's the point. I'm a big fan of buying people things you like.
Yes.
I've had people tell me, well, Robert, isn't it a waste of money to buy people things that they don't want, but that I want them to have? Well, sure, but then what's the point of you being the one giving them a thing? Mm-hmm. Again, if it's just something they want, they'll go out to the store and buy it. Yeah. Now, this is different for children. Children don't have their own money. You want to be more practical and you want to get them things they want. But at a certain age, once you've achieved success professionally, definitely let that thing go where you think, oh, what do they need? What do they want? What would they really love? And think, well, what would I like to get them? And do that thing. Another tip, surprises are overrated. As fun as surprises are, it's okay. And sometimes best to just ask somebody what they'd like to do or receive.
Yes, and ask them if they like surprises.
Ask them if they like surprises. But even people who like surprises, it doesn't have to be a surprise every time.
Yeah.
Every year. Now, if you've gone 5-10 years without a surprise party, without a big party, without bringing all their friends together to celebrate them, it may be time to look at doing something bigger. But that was another one where we'd gotten to the point where it seemed like every time we needed a surprise. If there wasn't a surprise gift or a surprise party or a surprise event, that we had failed in some way. And yeah, at some point you need to let that go.
Yeah, you do.
It can't possibly be rational if it's a source of repeated stress.
And you're not giving people an opportunity to anticipate if it's always that.
That's right. Because every time they're like, oh, I wonder what the surprise is this year.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there won't be one. Maybe you're going to enjoy that in a different way. So be independent. You don't have to do what everyone else does with any given holiday. Mm-hmm. Be independent. Make it what it means to you.
Yes.
Now, with that said, you can do what everybody else does. You can capitalize on the rich tradition that these holidays have got once you've broken out of the sense that I've got to do that. So the holidays are for you. They're about you.
Yes.
They're not about the next guy, the gal.
Shall I say that they are a selfish value? A
selfish value.
Yeah.
That theme has come up before.
I think it has.
Like maybe every episode. There must be a virtue in this selfishness.
That's a great book title.
Ooh, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Your values are your values. As with the value of holidays, so true with all your values. Name any value, short of life itself, and find the context, the options. There are options to every value.
Mm-hmm. I really think that this episode brought home, perhaps, and I hope it has for you, lovely audience, times that you have celebrated this kind of cyclical schedule of holidays year after year, and that's certainly helping remind me that during this time, of difficulty, that there is future celebration ahead, future holidays, future times to make life meaningful for yourself, to perhaps surprise people, or perhaps just give them a meaningful comment, write something lovely about them, show them that you care, tell them how much you love them. And you can do that today. You don't need to wait for a holiday. No. You can call people up and let them know how you feel about them and what you really most love about them and what you admire about them and what you are inspired by them. So, yes.
So I'm just going to read the last slide from the enormous slide deck.
That's really thick. This is a lot of 5 minutes, Robert.
And this was targeted at a philosophical objectivist audience. So if you're not into that stuff, this might sound a little airy. But I mean every word. Your values are contextual absolutes.
Wow. That's a concept.
Take them seriously. Within a given context, there are often countless options. Explore them. And choose in accordance with your values. Your voices and your life can and should be built. That's got to be a typo. Your choices and your life can and should be built in your image.
Your voices can be too.
This is true. This is true, You don't have to use the voice that Yahweh gave you. You can adopt whatever voice you want to use.
That's right. Matter of fact, this is a very deep voice that I have that I'm portraying.
That's right.
Usually I sound like this.
That's right.
Yes.
Everything is contextual. Mm-hmm. You get a deep voice, you can sound like you have a sore throat. Well, that's enough of that.
Oh, he's got the homework sheet out, everybody.
Oh my gosh,
let's
homework?
Be prepared. And
so there's homework. Well, the end of every episode. We're almost 5 minutes in. The end of every episode, we do have homework.
Okay.
Your homework for this week. Well, that was interesting.
Oh.
I'm sorry, folks. My mouse was sitting on the title card button, and as soon as I grabbed for this
We just wanted to add some variety. Sorry.
We're so professional. Where's my producer? Your Post-it note for the week. What does the Post-it note for the week say?
Dance. And if you can't dance
anyway. Yes, Amy chose, because it's Amy's birthday.
Yes, I want to give a shout out to my very first hero, who is still my hero. It's Debbie Allen, the actress and dancer and singer who appeared in Fame, the TV series and the movie. So...
Excellent. Well, this one I'm going to put on my mirror.
Yes.
Because I can't dance, but
yes,
I will dance anyway.
You can dance. Just put on a beat. Just move the body whichever way it goes. Do the Q-tip like that. That's a dance. It is valid. It is not arbitrary.
You see why I love this girl? So now that you've got your Post-it note of the week up on your mirror, dance, and if you can't dance, dance anyway. Your homework assignment. So what I'd like you to do for this week is, number one, list your top 3 favorite holidays, why they're your favorites, and what they mean to you. Those can be 10 words or less. This could be a 30-second assignment, or you could spend 5-10 minutes on it. And then as those holidays come around, you can make sure you're getting the maximum juice out of them.
Yes. Ask yourself what it really personally means to you, and what do you get out of it.
That's right. And number 2, and maybe this should have been number 1, in these days of Corona and Lyme, when all the days are flowing into each other and the weekend comes and it doesn't seem any different than the weekday, and the months, well, we won't say months. I'm sure by April 15th, call it, things will start winding down. But in any event, what I want you to do, plan a weekend date.
Ooh.
Plan a date for the weekend.
Yes. So, in other words, not just taking your partner on a date necessarily, but taking yourself out on a date. Be like, okay, Amy, grab my arm. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
So if you're in a relationship, plan this with your partner. If not, plan it with a family member, or a parent, child, or just plan it with a friend, roommate. But go out on a date and do date or weekend things.
Yeah, Rebecca says she really likes this homework.
Excellent. In Michigan, and I know a lot of states are following the same standards we are, you can't go to a restaurant and sit down. But what you can do is you can go to a restaurant and either get curbside service or a drive-thru.
Yes.
Feel free to bring along your hand sanitizer and hand sanitize everything afterwards.
Yep.
Sit in your car. Go to a park. Go to some place where it's still legal to park your car. And enjoy dinner together on a date outside the house.
Yes.
If you're still allowed to go to your parks, some places it's actually warm enough to sit at a picnic table if you've sanitized it first.
Yes.
In any event, you can still go out for walks. You can still go to the river. You can still go to places. You can still get out of the house and do something that isn't what you do every other night. So do it. Plan
idea.
a date. Plan and a weekend date, not a weeknight date. Because what you want to do is you want to feel in your schedule. You want to feel it in your bones. You want to feel it in your mind. The week, the weekdays, the weekend, the passing of time in a structured way where it doesn't feel like it's slipping through your fingers.
Yes.
So I want you to regain that.
Great idea.
Well, thank you.
And Fernando says include jewelry and foot rubs on your date.
Hey,
Fantastic idea.
if you've got the money, and what are you spending money on these days anyway? Then why not?
Right.
Okay, we're just about hitting the 5-minute mark, so
Yeah.
I'm going to remind you at this point that you can always find 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Robert Nasir, and on the YouTube page at youtube.com/Robert Nasir.
Yes.
If you would like to support the podcast, you can throw money at us. How cool would that be?
Be
like for your birthday, for Amy's birthday. Wouldn't it be nice to sign up for Patreon?
Yeah. I want to see the money fall from the sky or my ceiling in my living room.
Anyway, patreon.com/Robert Nasir. So thank you for joining us. This is now the 6th podcast we've done, officially episode number 5.
Yeah.
So we've been going just over a month.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for our listeners to let us know on my Facebook wall or YouTube comments how you think the first month went.
Yes, please let us know.
And what you would like to see more or less of.
Yes, and we have ideas.
We do have a lot of ideas, and they're all coming soon, real soon, because we got time on our hands now. In the meantime, I wish each of you, yes, you, success, weekends and holidays.
Yes.
And love.
Much, much love. Can I close with something?
Please.
All right.
That's usually my closing, but I guess Amy has something special for us.
This is from,
and it's her birthday, so she can do whatever she wants to do.
This is from a book. Perhaps you may not know. It's Atlas Shrugged.
Atlas Shrugged.
Have you ever heard of that before?
I have heard of that before.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it's really big. I don't know if I'd want to read it.
It's
but
quite big. I consider it to be 3 books in one, so,
You know, Dr. Bernstein, who we mentioned last time around, refers to it as the New Testament.
So, this is a lovely quote I came across. So it says, "By the grace of reality and the nature of life, man, every man," that includes me too, women too, "is an end in himself. He exists for his own sake, and the achievement of his own happiness is his highest moral purpose. But neither life nor happiness can be achieved by the pursuit of irrational whims. Just as man is free to attempt to survive in any random manner, but will perish unless he lives as his nature requires, so he is free to seek his happiness in any mindless fraud, but the torture of frustration is all he will find, unless he seeks the happiness proper to man. The purpose of morality is to teach you not to suffer and die, but to enjoy yourself and live. So take what you have and enjoy it, and live, even now." So, happy birthday to me. Thank you. Love you all.